I want you to picture a city built on pure ambition. Chicago, 1871. It wasn't just a place on a map, it was a marvel of speed. In just 40 years, it had exploded from a tiny trading post into a bustling metropolis of over 300,000 people. It was the great hub of America, connecting the East and the West. But this city of wonders had a secret, a dangerous secret. It was a city made of wood. Wooden buildings, wooden sidewalks, wooden streets paved over with tar. For weeks, a severe drought had gripped the region. Everything was bone dry. The city was a tinderbox, just waiting for a single, fateful spark. That spark came on the night of Sunday, October 8th. It started in a small barn on D. Coven Street, belonging to an Irish immigrant family, the O'Learys. For over a century, the story was that their cow kicked over a lantern. It was a simple tale, easy to blame. But the truth is, we'll never really know what happened in that barn. What we do know is that a neighbor first saw the flames around 9 p.m. A small fire, the kind of fire that, on any other night, might have been put out with a few buckets of water. But this was not any other night. A fierce wind was blowing from the southwest, a hot, dry wind that would act like a giant bellows. And then human error stepped in. A watchman in the courthouse tower, high above the city, spotted the blaze. But from his vantage point, he misjudged the location. He sent the fire department to a spot nearly a mile away from the O'Leary barn. For 15, maybe 20 precious minutes, the firefighters were on a wild goose chase. While they raced to the wrong address, the wind was doing its work. It picked up burning pieces of the barn, embers and flaming debris, and tossed them into the air. The fire began to leap from roof to roof, from shed to stable. By the time the exhausted firefighters found the real fire, it was no longer a small barn fire. It was a monster. It had grown into a raging inferno that was already consuming the entire block. They were too late. The small spark had found its fuel. The fire was now moving with terrifying speed. People described a wall of flame hundreds of feet high, roaring like a freight train. The wind created fire whirls, tornadoes of fire that could pick up entire houses and throw them. It swept through the working-class neighborhoods, wooden homes vanishing in minutes. Families woke up to the smell of smoke and the sight of an orange glow in the sky, thinking it was far away. Then, in an instant, it was at their door. Panic set in. The streets became a sea of people trying to save what little they could carry. Many people ran towards the Chicago River, believing it would be a natural firebreak. No fire could possibly jump the river. They were wrong. The heat was so intense it sent a blizzard of embers and burning debris across the water. The fire had jumped the river. Now it was in the heart of the city, the business district, the rich part of town with its grand hotels, theaters, and shops. It devoured the brand new Palmer House Hotel, which had been advertised as fireproof. It surrounded the Cook County Courthouse. Inside its magnificent bell tower was a huge 2-ton bell. As the flames climbed the tower, the bell began to ring from the intense heat. It rang and rang, a desperate alarm for a city that could not be saved. Then, with a final, mournful clang, the bell melted and fell silent. The courthouse collapsed into a pile of rubble. The city's fireproof buildings were a lie. Their stone and iron exteriors were just shells. Inside, the floors, frames, and furniture were all wood. They burned from the inside out, their iron frames twisting and collapsing in the unimaginable heat. The fire was feeding on the very pride of Chicago. It raged through Monday. The sky, even miles away, was black with smoke. The sun was blotted out. For those on the ground, it was a vision of hell. The air was thick with smoke and ash, making it hard to breathe. The noise was deafening, a constant roar of flames mixed with the crash of falling buildings. Thousands of people fled north, only to be trapped by the fire. Their last refuge was the shore of Lake Michigan. They waded into the cold water, holding their children, watching their city burn to the ground behind them. For 30 hours, the firestorm consumed everything in its path. And then, on Tuesday morning, it began to rain. The fire, having run out of things to burn in the city center, finally died out. Silence fell over Chicago. Where a great city had stood, there was now a wasteland. For square miles of it, an area the size of a modern airport, completely flattened. 17,500 buildings were gone. The financial district, the hotels, the homes, all of it, just smoking ruins and solitary chimneys standing like tombstones. 100,000 people, a third of the city's population, were homeless. They wandered the charred streets, covered in soot, looking for lost family members, with nothing left but the clothes on their backs. The scale of the loss was impossible to comprehend. And the human cost? The official death toll was around 300 people. But historians believe the real number was much higher. The fire was so hot, it left little behind. Many victims simply vanished. A city was destroyed, but its spirit was not. In the smoldering ruins, something incredible began to happen. The people of Chicago, tough and resilient, did not despair. Famously, the day after the fire, one business owner put a sign on the door of his ruined shop. It read, "All lost except wife, children, and energy." That was the spirit of Chicago. Before the rubble was even cold, they were planning a new city. Aid poured in from all over the country and the world. But it was the city's own people who performed the miracle. They started clearing the debris, laying new foundations, and dreaming of a bigger, better Chicago. And as for Catherine O'Leary and her cow, the story that she started the fire was, in all likelihood, a fabrication. A reporter later admitted he made it up because he thought it made a better story. Mrs. O'Leary was an easy scapegoat. She died years later, heartbroken by the blame she carried. In 1997, the city of Chicago officially exonerated her. The Great Fire was a terrible tragedy, but it was also a rebirth. It cleared the slate. It allowed architects and planners to build a new city from scratch, a city of steel and stone, not wood. The first skyscrapers rose from the ashes of the fire. The fire of 1871 didn't destroy Chicago. It forged it. It gave the city its famous "I will" motto. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes, out of the most devastating ashes, something stronger and more enduring can rise. A new beginning, born from a single, fateful spark.